everyone, this is Pause or Repeat. Here we figure out whether a game is really worth your time and money. Today's game is Dragon Ball Sparking Zero. Are you a fan of Dragon Ball? Then this might be the game for you. This is the Dragon Ball fighting game that fans of Budokai Tenkaichi 3 from 2007 have been raving about. So let's take a look at the game and find out why, starting first with the gameplay. The gameplay of Sparking Zero tries its best to replicate the fight scenes from the anime and make you feel like you're actually playing as the characters. This is enhanced by the combo system, as well as the movement, charging up of ki, and using special abilities like Kamehameha or Final Flash. When put all together, the gameplay is pretty solid and has a respectable amount of depth, more than meets the eye at first glance. To be competent, you need to know how to put up a good defense alongside your offense, lest you be comboed into infinity. There are a staggering 181 playable characters available to play, with more on the way as DLC content, so there are plenty to learn. However, nothing is stopping you from learning your favorite Dragon Ball characters first and foremost, and likely they are available for play. Alongside the characters, there is of course a multiplayer mode with up to 4 players, even online, and a story mode in the form of getting to play out fights from the anime in an episodic nature. Speaking of the story mode, let's go over that a little bit further. The story mode of Sparking Zero follows the anime from the start of Dragon Ball Z all the way through Super. There are plenty of fights, and you get to play as one of the characters available, such as Goku, of course, Vegeta, Gohan, Piccolo, etc. The story mode also has some branching paths where, depending on the outcome of the fight, you may be treated to an alternate version of events. For example, what if Piccolo trained Gohan in the hyperbolic time chamber instead of Goku? But of course, the through line for the story mode is of course to follow the events as they were told originally in the anime. But now the question still stands. Pause or repeat? All right, are you ready, Chris?
I think I'm ready.
Fusion.
Let's get it, baby. Yeah, I pictured it. I knew I would.
It's all good. You know, we can't really do it. We're not in person. We can't do it perfectly.
True.
But this game has one really good quality to it, and that is the quality that it makes you really feel like you're recreating scenes from the anime. I mean,
Yeah.
I'm not going to say I'm amazing at the game, because I'm not, but I sometimes when I'm playing this game felt like I was actually playing an episode of Dragon Ball. And that is an awesome experience, just to even have a little hint of.
Yeah.
And I'm
so
sure
true.
if you're even better than I am, you're feeling that constantly. But what do you think about this game, Chris?
No, you're right, man. I mean, with jaw-dropping visual effects, a ton of unlockable content, and enough alternative story paths to make even Shenron lose track, Dragon Ball Sparking Zero serving up everything that I believe Dragon Ball Z fans want. If this doesn't satisfy you, I mean, are you a real Saiyan? I mean, I don't know.
I think there's a lot on offer here, like you're saying. There's a lot of characters, pretty much for any person who wants to play a specific character. It's there. That character is there. You can play as them. You can play as variants of them, even. So there's a lot of options, and that is both a curse and a blessing, because yes,
interesting.
There's a lot, so you can get a little overwhelmed, but also because there's a lot to learn. And I will say right now, the tutorial in this game sucks.
Yeah, it does.
This is definitely a game you have to go and practice in, you know, the episodes, the story mode. But not even there is that enough. I feel like you need to like go watch videos explaining how to actually do some of the mechanics in this game, like defense, because the way they explain it in the little opening tutorial is not sufficient enough. Like, you have to really either do the whole thing of, you know, looking through the combo list yourself, or go and look at videos about it.
Well, it's really because we're not used to it, and I think that's what's kind of cool about this game, because it's such a different combat fighting style than, you know, some of the greats that have dropped just this year alone. I just love this whole heart-pounding, you know, high-speed 3D battles. I mean, like you said right at the top, it definitely feels like the anime comes to life. I mean, I love the whole beam clashes, rush attacks, and you move so fast. I started to even wonder if I needed to upgrade my TV or PC monitor, because it was like, do I got enough FPS for all this? I mean, my computer's about to explode. And especially when you got these really cool ultimate attacks that are like planet destroying, you know? I mean,
Mhm.
let's face it, Henrik. I mean, with a style of game like this, who cares about the landscape? Are we saving or destroying the world? I think that's the awesome part about this game.
No, yeah, 100%. And you're going to feel like that a lot of the time when playing against other people who are really good at the game, which, considering that the combat in this has been around since the early 2000s, there's people who are really good at this game.
Hmm.
And it ends up being a little bit of a frustrating experience when you're going up against someone who really knows how to play a character like Mr. Satan, and you're like, I'm playing as God Goku. Why is he not in the ground consistently? And it's just, you're not good enough, you know?
Well,
Like five
Henrik,
is so much better at you,
it sounds like
better
a
than
skill.
you.
No,
So
I'm gonna have to call you out on what your famous phrase is. It sounds like it's a skill issue because you have up to 180 fighters from Dragon Ball Z, Dragon Ball Super, Dragon Ball GT, and even the movies all in the base game. I mean,
yeah.
that's insane. I mean, yeah, you don't have to get a DLC, but if you're like really invested in this game, other favorite characters are being promised along the way, complete with signature moves, transformations, and techniques that make your thumbs scream, Kamehameha, baby. So, like, I think it's really, really badass. Like, I didn't necessarily grow up as a kid, fascinated with Dragon Ball Z. I must have skipped it. I was Pokemon, Digimon, wasn't really in that, like, anime sphere, but I felt like I was in tune. And, someone that's kind of coming in with, like, I guess, a handkerchief over his eyes and having like no clue about the Dragon Ball Z universe. I thought it was very, very promising, and it made me want to be even more invested in the universe of what Dragon Ball is all about. And I think, you were just mentioning about the whole, players online. I think that's a good point that you referenced. But, I like that you can actually bring the friendly competition to home, especially with the split screen kind of a thing kind of going on. But, like, why only in the hyperbolic time chamber? I mean, it's just a white space. It's so boring. There's all these really cool landscapes. It might kind of feel a little small at times, but how is that not patched in? Or how is that not, it's a $70 game after all. You would think that they would get a little bit more creative,
Well, I
playing with your
mean,
friends at home.
this is a game that will probably stick around for a while, not only because of them making money off of it, but just
They
because
must
I'm sure
really
that
think.
the
Oh, sorry. I don't
fans
mean.
will stick around, you know. So I'm sure they'll figure out things like that as they go.
They must be really thinking that like us gamers don't play together in the same space anymore. Like this game's really focused on like the
I mean, do we
online presence
really,
of
to
things.
be honest, though?
Yeah, that's kind of true. It's really only the sports games moving forward. And I always hate that because if you're playing like Madden, for example, your homeboy sitting right next to you is looking at the same play that you're about to call. And so, yeah, that does kind of suck. But you feel like with a fighting game like this, he's not going to know what you're going to hit and parry and etc. But, what did you feel about, the whole idea that, you do get these action-packed battles, from the classic story and you can unlock brand new encounters that let you fight with your favorite Z fighters, which I thought that was pretty unique. But then I was hearing some commentary online because again, I'm not as invested in Dragon Ball like the OGs out there, but some people just felt like it was completely boring. Even though I thought it was kind of cool that you can play as 8 different characters and the cutscenes can also dictate where the story goes. How did you
Yeah,
feel about all that?
it's pretty interesting because they could have just done the whole thing of, okay, you're going to play as this character and you're just going to follow the story as it was told. They actually took a little bit of a risk, which they've done before, granted, but they took the risk of like, oh, if you're playing as Piccolo, well, what if Piccolo actually beat Cell in the
Mm.
Cell games? You know, like that actually is something that's not seen in the anime, but it's that whole like Marvel what if sort of take on things. You know, like what if
or
happened?
or you know what it is, Henrik? It's more of like those memes you would see, like, "Oh, Goku's done another bad decision." You know what I mean? Like, it's kind of
Yeah,
essentially that. But you know what? I really thought this was an excellent, different rendition for me, at least when it came to a combat fighting game. I felt like it was a repeat. I mean, it's super, super promising. I'm looking forward to any more updates that can come with this game. I feel like when it comes to the Game Awards, coming up in December, that's going to be, pretty interesting where the panel goes and even the fan votes when it comes to some of these iconic games that were nominated, for the running of best fighting combat game, along with like Tekken and Street Fighter, all this stuff. So, yeah, I mean, it's going to be really, really cool. But what do you say, Henrik?
Yeah, this game, it's hard to compare it to other fighting games like Tekken and Street Fighter, like the side to side ones, because it's so invested in that trying to deliver the experience of you playing out an episode of Dragon Ball Z or Super. And that's something very special. It's definitely a repeat for me because I felt a great experience from playing this game. But I don't know if it's necessarily for everyone. It's going to be a little
Yeah.
divisive, and that's why I'm kind of disappointed that the tutorial is not great because they have the opportunity with a good tutorial to bring in more people. But if you're a fan of Dragon Ball and you're maybe even just a fan of fighting games and you want to try this out, you will actually might get hooked
Yeah, I
because
think
it's
the
a
I
fun experience.
and I think what the tutorial won't tell you is try to fight them while you're in the air. Have you ever seen a Dragon
Yeah.
Ball episode? Do they really often fight on the ground? If you try to combat on the ground, you're gonna do like next to no damage. So you stay up in the air,
Yeah,
baby.
they
Stay up in
they
the
last like in the show for reference, they last like maybe a little small bit of time on the ground, and then immediately things are just happening
yeah.
in the air because
So
it's
just
just easier, I guess.
exactly. Hey, but you heard it from Henrik the Wreck and Chris Collins himself, baby. So what are you waiting for? Jump right on into Dragon Ball Sparking Zero. It is out now today on PS5, Xbox, and Steam. So yeah, man, come on, get yourself a hold on it.